Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.
This is going to be a wild ride. Mike Wilmot is here. We got Jordan St. Clair from Canopy Growth. How you doing?
Oh,
good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Mike's a firecracker of a comedian, so we're going to have some fun today, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm peaking, actually. I think I've just peaked. I'm a bit tired, to tell you the truth.
No, come on. Let's go. Let's get her going. How are things with you, Jordan?
Good. Busy times. We're just we're racing towards October 17th and trying to take a couple minutes to enjoy the summer. But yeah, mostly just hustling.
Yeah, October 17th, of course, the day where marijuana is completely legal across this great nation of ours.
Great, I'll be in England.
Oh, you are.
Oh man, that just broke my heart.
Jordan, any progress in the UK?
Today, actually, it's funny that you ask. Yeah, so the UK's been a wild ride over the last 6 weeks or so. So everything, I'd say, like every medical cannabis story, anyway, it always sort of gets changed when moms and kids enter the fray. And they've had this one mother who's been advocating for cannabis for her child who's got epilepsy. She went as far as actually coming to Canada, getting a bunch of product, and then flying back over to the UK illegally. They seized it from her at the border, turned into a big media storm, shit show, really. And then can I swear on the show?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, thanks.
It's a shit show.
Yeah. I know.
And basically, like, from there, the government just was on the defensive. They took this kid's medicine away, so they formed a special committee. They got the chief medical officer on board to analyze all these policies and figure out what's right. And just today, like, this is breaking news, but just today, they said that the UK should reschedule cannabis. So it's very, very possible that we're going to have cannabis prescriptions in the UK soon. So
yes, because I recently injured my funny bone, and I think that's a qualifier right there.
It is, right?
Yeah, I sprained it.
I think so.
I sprained it on that joke.
It was a joke. I didn't know.
See, because of the sprain. My point. But if I had quality medical marijuana, that would have been so much. That would have been a fourth thought joke instead of the one thought joke.
It's a closer. It would have been a closer.
It would have been instead of a meek opening crap joke. That's great news.
That is great news. I mean, it's almost silly. I would say, and I will say, in fact, that for any nation, at least right now, medically, not to consider having this as part of their the medicine that is offered to people who need it.
There's a part of London, Brixton. It's a great little neighborhood, pretty funky neighborhood. And when I was out there about 20 years ago, when I first started, they decriminalized in Brixton as a social experiment, and it was fantastic. If anything, it was going too well, and I think that's what pissed them off. It's like Denver. I've played Denver. What a great town! You know, the planes go to and fro. Nothing's happened bad. It's wonderful. It's wonderful once they just open it up.
And Jordan, is that how you see it rolling out here in Canada? Just like, pretty. Do you see it rolling out pretty easily on October 17th?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. In Denver, the funny thing is the Mile High Stadium is named after a sporting company that doesn't even exist anymore. It's bankrupt, and they still have the naming rights to the stadium. And all of these weed companies are trying to step in to take the naming rights, and they won't let them. They just think it's just nothing could be worse in their minds. But the funny thing is, they're the only companies in the state that are flush with cash and can come over and step up and actually want to do it. So yeah, there's an irony there.
That is really, I never thought of. Hey, is that something that Canopy Growth could ever do? Like, could you like sponsor a stadium name?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we could sponsor a stadium per se, unless there was some way that it could be only adults that were there, because there's some rules in Canada about how many, what percentage of the audience can be children and what you're allowed to say in those areas. But it's kind of a tightrope right now. Like the regulator sort of says, here's the rules, and then we interpret those, and every set of regulations is open to interpretation.
Yes.
And we all try and do it creatively. And now we're just at the spot where they're more or less just telling us where they think we overstep. So it's an interesting time in the advertising space for cannabis, because we'll do one thing, they'll say that's offside, so we'll start doing another thing. And yeah, I guess that's just the friction that comes with something new.
Canopy, cannabis, comedy. There's a reason all these things start with a C. There you go. There's your show.
The Canopy Comedy.
Cannabis
Yeah,
comedy festival. See, yeah. Some people won't be able to remember, but they know it's Canopies. They'll remember one of the three.
We'll get it done. And Jordan Sinclair joins us. So I know one of the things though with the your tweet approach is always about like education and community, right?
Always, yeah, always. So I mean, we met when you came down for the annual concert that we have here in Smiths Falls, and that basically is just a way to say thanks to the town for having us. It was a lot's changed in 4 years, and it was hard to find a town that would have a cannabis company in 2013. But Smiths Falls was one that said yes. So we always throw a little party every summer to show our appreciation. And as the rules change, now we're just trying to figure out if that's still on side. So we hope so. But it all is about community and about education, because so many people just don't understand the medical side or the recreational side. And the last thing that we want is for someone to walk into a store, buy the wrong thing, and then mistakenly think that cannabis isn't for them, when really at the end of the day it was probably just that strain that wasn't for them. So, that education component is key to us as a business, because we want people to be return customers, obviously. But, as a responsible business, we just don't want people to have a bad experience with cannabis and consume too much. That's not what we're about.
And as part of the frustration, and maybe I can say this, I don't know what you can or cannot say, but where you see things like the Budweiser stage, or like the big naming of a lot of booze companies with different things, is that ever something that you guys put forth as an analogy or comparison?
Yeah, so definitely we try and draw those comparisons, but when we take a step back, I think for us we're trying to stay focused on the long game, to try and think about, the fact that year one is not going to look like year 5, and that won't look like year 10. There will be some sort of, adaptation or adapting that happens, and people start to realize that, this is a substance that should be regulated, but it exists somewhere on a curve. Should we have stricter warning labels on cans of soda? I don't know, maybe. So, all these things are sort of to be determined, and that's a part of the fun of this industry, is you get to be a part of shaping all of it.
And how is media sort of dealt with this kind of stuff? Have they talked about it where it should be a little bit more lax, or are they kind of jumping on where the regulations lie, or like how? Because I haven't really read a lot of what other media are saying when it comes to this specific issue. Are they kind of feeling for some of the LPs?
I would say it's hard to paint any kind of broad strokes, but my favorite, and I'm not just saying this to pump your tires, like my favorite is to do talk radio. It always feels like that's the medium where you actually get to explore things. It's not just an interview for print that a couple of quotes get kind of cherry picked here and there and published to support a narrative that the writer already had. So I would say that there has been some really good reporting, and a lot of it is it's on radio.
Well, we got Professor Wim on here, so that's what we do. We educate people.
That's what I do. My whole life, I've been educating both myself and who's ever in my basement at the time.
Marijuana expert.
That's I put in many years and nothing but benefits. Healthy appetite, great vision, and I can listen to jazz for days.
Oh man, what?
Anything that makes you listen to jazz? Drunk people throw glass at each other. I'm terrified to go camping when I know that they're going to be boozing. But if you're going camping, everyone's just going to be smoking pot. People bring out guitars. It maddens me where like you were mentioning the Budweiser space, brought to you by booze, and just drunk people driving into one another and punching each other and getting all weird. Where I remember doing a pot club, a legalization party in Toronto many years ago, and 2 cops pulled in to the front of it because I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and they walked right by me. I thought something was going to go on. And the cops just said, no, we know what you guys are up to. Never a fight. And just went across the street to where there was a pub, and there was like two guys punching each other, and they put them in the car and drove off. And I thought that's it there. That's it there.
We have a lawyer who comes on the program a lot, Jordan. I think you'd find this interesting. He finds it amazing in a way that there aren't more ride checks after sporting events or big concerts right outside. Like it's almost like it's a no-brainer. It's amazing they don't focus a lot on that kind of stuff because of everything you're saying. I don't know where we're going here, but it's just I think people realize. But the one thing, and I will say, and I think this is great, what obviously Canopy Growth stands behind everyone, is that no one should ever use even a marijuana product and go and drive right now.
No.
So I mean that and that's just something that's through education. That's something you guys are focused on,
but
right?
when you get drunk, even though I don't know how to drive, I've never driven.
You don't drive?
I'm a 55-year-old man. I've been around the world several times. I don't know how to drive. That's what opening acts are for.
Well,
anyway, when you get high, when you get drunk, you get careless. When you get high, you get inner. You go like, I wouldn't drive. Like, when you get drunk, I'm going to dive off a building. You don't, it's more dangerous than anything else. Eric Clapton said the worst drug he ever did was booze, and he did way more than just smoking pot.
Well, not interesting.
Yeah, the number one, the most dangerous drug out there is alcohol, but you can't grow it in your backyard, so there you go.
How's it going, Jordan?
Going good, man.
I do tend to just grab everything.
No, it's okay.
Do you want me in another booth?
No, I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all.
There's another radio show over there. That looks pretty good.
No, this one's way better. Okay, Jordan Sinclair joins us. So what are sort of your next steps now? What's going on over the next few weeks for you guys?
Next few weeks, what are we doing? I would say that the events team seems to be the busiest one in the entire business right now. We're at the Stampede in Calgary. We were at Pride in Halifax, Pride in Toronto.
That's great.
A whole bunch of Pride events all across the country. It's great. Our CEO.
Talk about a wide net.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, totally.
There's Stampede and Pride. That's wonderful.
Yeah, right to left on the spectrum.
That's beautiful.
But I guess it's just about trying to get our name out there, trying to engage with people. We've got, it seems like there's like 5 or 10 events every single week that's going on.
Unbelievable.
And if anyone who's listening is at a music festival or they're at some sort of community event throughout the year and they see a big sign that says Hi, like that's it, H-I, that is kind of like the Tweed calling card. And we've got people with popsicles that are made out of terpenes, and they've got little educational cards that they're handing out and some T-shirts and stuff like that. But mostly it's just about engagement, about chatting with people and seeing if they have questions about cannabis. It's amazing the types of questions that you hear out at the events. But that's sort of the mission of the summer for us.
I love that you guys are doing that, and I think I really do believe, and I'm not just saying this either. It's such a smart approach. It's contacting people who might be a little bit iffy, might question, might not know, be unsure, and yet you literally are telling them, some of the, what could be a benefit, how to approach it, to be cautious. You're educating, and that's the best approach. And I hope people realize that we're all going through this together and we're all learning together. Listen, like the amount of messages or Facebook messages or Instagram direct messages I'll get. I used to get a lot from females, but now I'm married. That sucks. But just asking me, even like with my my use in CBDs for anxiety and stuff like that, they come in a lot. And I always tell people, just go and get educated. That's the smartest thing you can do.
That's right. And to ask many questions, because for 100 years the only question was, do you have any?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And now you can find out more because it's
so much research that goes into it.
Yes. What makes me funny, or what makes me better? What makes me relaxed?
Jordan, how much research? Like how many and funds? I don't know how you measure it, but Canopy Growth's got to be involved in so much research.
Totally, yeah, and a lot of it is just funding other people to do research. On the driving thing specifically, we paid for some folks at Simon Fraser University to run a study about cannabis impaired driving to figure out exactly what all the research and literature that was out there says. It's funny that you mentioned earlier that people when they get stoned they're hesitant to get behind the wheel. Like the research suggests that is the case. It also suggests that if you mix with alcohol, you're twice as bad on the road. So, alcohol, terrible on the road. Cannabis, also terrible on the road. But combined, it's lethal, really bad, high incidence of accidents. And those are the types of things that, it's common sense, but you sort of need the research to back it up, and then you need the actual policy change or the social shift to do something about it. I don't think it's a surprise that people smoke pot and drive right now. But for the last year, all you can hear about is how serious a problem this is and how we have to fix this and we have to do it fast. Legalization has forced that. They've forced a harder look at where the gaps are in society, where we just we turn a blind eye because it's not topical. This has forced a whole bunch of conversations in Canada that really needed to happen, that needed to bring drug policy and drug conversation away from prohibition era and into something that's a bit more sophisticated. Like if I walk up to a drug dealer 10 years ago, say, all you would say is like, do you have any weed? And it's just a binary yes or no. And then you would get what you get. It's kind of akin to walking up to a bartender and saying like, hey, can you just fill this cup with booze?
Yes, that's right.
Fine, but just like put whatever in there. And
Purell.
I'll chug it as fast as I can, and then whatever happens, happens. Like, but if that's a Coors Light or creme de menthe or tequila, you're going to have a much, much different night after you drink that pint. So cannabis is like that. Some of it is mellow, some of it is very intense. And those nuances are really what's interesting about the whole education play.
And can you imagine like the next generation of kids watching like an old like Cheech and Chong movie going like, what's this about?
Oh, that's funny.
Why are they stuck smoking that horrible little roach? I don't get it. None of this is funny.
Poor Cheech and Chong.
You get a haircut.
The Todd Shapiro Show, Canada Laughs, SiriusXM 168.